We have Valve is building a Steam console to rival PS5 and Xbox, rumors claim. This is crazy. This is crazy. Late last year, rumors surfaced regarding a developing Steam-based console being built by Valve. It was claimed that the device was being designed alongside new iterations of the Steam controller and a fresh VR headset. On social media, tech insiders were mulling over proposed specs for a Steam console, but of course, the claims were not addressed by Valve. So, this is interesting because, I mean, if a Steam console is supposed to drop, the specs have to be better than your traditional console, just slightly above your traditional console would be my expectation, because Steam is traditionally for PC players, and PC players traditionally run their computers or build computers at higher specs, way higher specs than a console, PlayStation or an Xbox. So if they are trying to find some sort of middle ground between the PC marketplace and the console marketplace, the specs have to be somewhat elevated, as in better than console, but obviously downgraded so that it won't be a $3,000 console that wouldn't appeal to your average console player, because you want to appeal to that market as well. This isn't surprising though. I mean, Steam was definitely gonna throw their hand or throw their hat in the ring for sure. Let's read on. Today, fresh rumors have hit the airwaves, with Ecstasis, I think, commenting on social media and uploading a video about the very spicy claim that the rumored Steam console will be complete with PS5 and Xbox Series console. Hey, yo, if it comes out, take this with a grain of salt, by the way, but if it comes out, like it actually drops, that would be very interesting, considering the fact that Xbox seems to be making their exit out of the console race. I'm seeing a lot of comparisons with Xbox to Sega, just like how Sega started with, like, you know, the Dreamcast, the older Sega consoles, and then eventually they realized they can't compete, and then they stopped making hardware, and then they stuck to making games, good games, quality games. I mean, quality games is questionable because Sonic was their biggest franchise, and Sonic had one good game out of every 6, as unfortunate as it was growing up. But yeah, it would definitely be interesting to see Steam kind of take the spot, the void that Xbox left, and compete with PlayStation. That would be a very interesting turn of events, I'm not gonna lie. It's because growing up, it's always been Xbox and PlayStation, but for the next generation, it could be PlayStation and Steam. That could end in, I mean, it'll be good either way, because competition is what we need ultimately in the industry. As much as I love PlayStation, you're not a true, I'm gonna make a bold statement. I don't think you're a real gamer if you're fighting for one console to be more successful than anything else, right? Because what you need is your favorite console or company to be competing with other companies, because they need to be competing to build better products, better hardware, bring better video games. They need to appeal to us, the consumer. They won't have any incentive to appeal to the consumer if they monopolize the market. If PlayStation is at the top, they could pretty much just sit back and just do whatever they want. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, what's going to happen? What are you going to play? Xbox? You're not going to play Xbox. Xbox doesn't have any games. Xbox doesn't have the hardware to compete. You know, what you going to play? Sega Dreamcast? Like, that doesn't exist anymore. So, yeah, this is great news, honestly. If they're dropping a console, that would be fire. We need more competition in the industry, because Sony has already been tweaking. I mean, look at what they've been doing with the live service games. Every 5 minutes, they're dropping $500 million on a live service game that ends up failing. It's ridiculous. So their head is too big, and they need to shrink that motherfucker. Anyway, continue reading. On social media, Ecstasis wrote, new Steam console, very spicy with Valve. It already seems that a new Steam console is coming that competes against PS5 and Xbox in the future. Thanks to Handle Deck, we have learned that Valve works closely with AMD and its RDNA 4 technologies. In a follow-up video, Ecstasis expanded on the rumor, but I don't speak Spanish, so perhaps you'll have a better luck breaking this down. Okay, Valve has had plenty of success with the Steam Deck, which is considered one of the best handheld gaming devices in the market. But would the tech titans see the same results with a home console? It would be welcome competition, but it could skew the existing market. I mean, it could. It could. For instance, it could prevent PlayStation from launching further exclusives on PC. True. As anyone with a Steam console could play them there, as opposed to buying a PlayStation console to get that traditional home gaming experience. It could also be another flop, just like Steam machines that Valve tried to launch several years ago. It's important to stress that these rumors are to be taken with a pinch of salt until Valve confirms what's happening behind the scenes. The cards are being played very close to the chest of this gaming giant, so we'll have to see what happens in due course. I'm not gonna lie, yeah, these are valid concerns to have, but I think to hell with caution at this point. There's no better time for Steam to make their second debut in the console market, because I mean, like I said, like Xbox is kind of bowing out respectfully, which is crazy. You know, I never thought that I would see the day where Xbox would like just be like, you know what, like we're not making any more hardware. We're just gonna be focusing on the Game Pass and our gaming studios, and that's it. I never thought that I would see that day. So with PlayStation and Nintendo on two opposite ends of the spectrum, you know what I'm saying, like PlayStation doesn't really compete with Nintendo, which doesn't really compete with PlayStation, considering the fact that, you know, PlayStation is more, or Nintendo is more of like a family oriented, not graphic intensive, not really trying to push the needle in terms of innovation. It's more of like a fun casual system, whereas PlayStation and Xbox were more of the industry markers and deciding factors. So yeah, it would just be nice for PlayStation to have that company, because honestly, I just want to see the industry kind of continue to improve. And that's the only way to make it improve, is with competition. So again, this is just a rumor. It is to be taken with salt, taken lightly, though I could see this happening. It just makes perfect sense, you know, but we'll keep our eye out on that one. In MCU news, we have, if only Johnny Depp had the same chance. Kevin Feige reportedly considering Jonathan Majors' return as Kang for a very specific reason. Jonathan Majors' Kang could appear in Avengers Doomsday if one report is true about Kevin Feige wanting the actor back. Now this is interesting, because if you're anything like me, I mean, the MCU has been kind of dry lately, with the exception of Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, that was exciting, kind of. I still feel like they could have maybe done a few things differently. Like for example, like the introduction of these multiversal variants, they kind of seem to just snap in for a quick moment, and then they die or they disappear or something happens. It's not like they're a mainstay. Like, it would have been fire to see Johnny Storm. I don't think it had to be Steve Rogers, the Steve Rogers variant. It could have been a different, well, actually no, that's cap, because they're coming out with a Fantastic Four movie, so there is going to be a mainstay for Johnny Storm. But it just felt disappointing to see all these characters like Blade and Gambit and whatnot, and it was like they were there, and then it was, I don't know, it was a good movie nonetheless. But the MCU has kind of been feeling like it has lost its sense of direction and its flair kind of ever since this whole Jonathan Majors thing has popped off. So it would be very interesting to see him come back and then kind of figure out the through line to the story and the direction that they went ahead with it. But let's see what they say. Disney was keen not to make the same mistake as Johnny Depp when it came to Jonathan Majors. The Kang actor was fired only after he was convicted in the misdemeanor assault and harassment case filed by his ex-girlfriend, Trace Jabari. Majors avoided jail time and was sentenced to 52 weeks in a domestic violence intervention program. According to a new report, Kevin Feige now wants the actor back in MCU, even though Avengers: The Kang Dynasty was scrapped in favor of Avengers: Doomsday. The studio may consider his court-ordered sentence as a sufficient punishment for his actions. If true, this is a significant shift in what Disney did to Depp. Yeah, for sure. I mean, after the whole Johnny Depp situation, he was kind of just axed from the industry. But I think they might just see the potential of, you know, what could happen with a Kang Dynasty, and it might just make more sense to kind of just roll with it than to completely scrap everything, you know. Continuing, after his conviction, Jonathan Majors lost some major contracts, including his MCU role. According to Variety, Majors was set to earn $20 million from his stint as the multiversal villain Kang in the franchise. It was also reported earlier that the actor struggled to pay his bills after he lost gigs, and that his girlfriend Megan Good was supporting him financially. However, a report from Screen Geek suggests that Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige is looking to bring back the actor into the MCU. Majors Kang was introduced in Loki and Ant-Man 3 as the next Thanos-like villain in the franchise. He even had an overarching plot, which was later reconsidered after Majors' firing. Marvel is allegedly trying to move away from Kang to Doctor Doom as the main villain. However, the transition won't be as smooth unless the story can convincingly explain Kang's absence. According to Screen Geek sources, Feige's intention to bring back Majors in the role is primarily to wrap up these loose ends involving Kang. Okay, so this is interesting, because according to this source, it doesn't seem like he wants to bring him back to replace or completely change the idea of Doomsday and go back to the Kang thing. It's just to wrap up loose ends so that they can have a smoother transition into Avengers: Doomsday, which I could see that making sense. I can see that making sense. I mean, this might be the best course of action for them, because it is something that has kind of been on everybody's mind. People that are interested in the MCU is how are they going to make that transition after all of this build up with Ant-Man, with Loki. Like, how are they going to make this transition into Avengers: Doomsday just out the blue like that, you know? This could be the only way that actually makes sense, you know, to bring him back, wrap up his story, and kind of dust your hands and move on, you know. See what they say. Feige and the studio are in process of reworking the 5th Avengers film from the Kang Dynasty to Doomsday. If Majors returns to the role, they could build a connection between Kang and Doctor Doom without raising questions about continuity. However, it is unlikely that Majors will return to the role in such a capacity after getting fired from it. This is also true. He is currently busy bringing his film Magazine Dreams to theaters after numerous delays due to his issues. He has also signed on to Martin Villeneuve's film Merciless, which is reported to be a supernatural revenge thriller. Johnny Depp never got chances like Jonathan Majors. With the new report, it's clear that Jonathan Majors is apparently getting more leniency than Johnny Depp. Even if Majors never makes it back to the MCU, he had a more respectable firing than Depp. When Depp was accused of domestic abuse by his ex-wife Amber Heard, Disney took no time in severing ties with the actor. This is also true. He was supposed to return for a 5th film in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, but the studio acted before a thorough examination of the situation. However, the tables turned in favor of Depp later, and Disney faced severe backlash for his hasty decision. During the trial, Depp outright stated that he had no intention of reviving his association with Disney. Yeah, I mean, I don't even blame him, to be honest. Like, you work for this company, and before you got the opportunity of due process, to be tried in front of a court, and to speak your piece and let the situation play out. They were just like, yeah, we don't want to deal with this, we're gonna wipe our hands clean of you. And then boom, it turns out that things were not what they expected it to be, and you face severe backlash as a result. So I don't think I can see Marvel or Disney kind of turning back on their word, although it would be the most feasible, continuity speaking, like story wise. It would make the most sense for them to wrap up the loose ends with the king that they have. I just don't see them making that decision, just because this time it seems like they kind of did things the right way, waited for a conviction, released him as a result. Now to kind of go back on that would be, in the public eye, I don't think it would mull over too well, you know, especially with the fact that he's kind of being blackballed by the industry right now. So the likelihood of it happening is pretty low. It is pretty low. Let's see. The studio seems to have learned a lesson from the Depp controversy and did not make a hasty decision when Majors got arrested on March 25th, 2023. Their decision to let go of the actor only came after the verdict of his trial. This is true. It was also reported that Marvel wasn't just depending on Doom to replace the Kang storyline. Theories suggested that Kang would be replaced by multiple heroes and villains from other universes. See, this kind of annoys me because I hope it's just not a thing where they just sprinkle the movies with these random heroes that, you know, nobody really cares about and we won't see again. Random heroes and villains. But we'll see. Fans will get to know more details in the coming days. Meanwhile, Avengers Doomsday is set to hit theaters on May 1st, 2026. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this. Is it likely that he'll come back? I don't think so. I think the possibility is there. I think it's feasible. I think it would make sense. But I also strongly believe Disney wouldn't go back on their word, especially when the decision has already been made and public perception is shifting in a certain direction. I doubt Disney would be like, okay, you know, let's go in that direction, pull him back and put him back in the spotlight. So, I mean, it's possible, but we'll see how it plays out. May 1st, 2026, I'm going to look forward to. Okay, so in more PlayStation news, we got another rumor. Some BioWare staff loaned to other EA studios may not return. This one hits home because I know this has to do with Mass Effect. A report by Bloomberg has claimed that some of the BioWare staff that were loaned to other studios at Electronic Arts may not return after all. BioWare announced last week that it was downsizing while it shifts focus to the new Mass Effect game, and as such a number of staff were moved to other products within EA. Amidst this, some people who had worked on the Dragon Age franchise had revealed that they are now looking for work, having been laid off. That's crazy. Yo, the people are getting laid off left and right in the gaming industry, dog. This is insane. Now Bloomberg, citing sources and people familiar with what happened, has stated that the staff are no longer simply employees at BioWare, temporarily on assignment elsewhere, but instead now work for whatever EA studio they were at loan at. I wonder if this means that they're gearing up to get rid of BioWare, because although BioWare has some legendary games under its belt, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, I know I'm missing some, but those are the big two that come to my brain. Mass Effect 1, 2, 3. Andromeda, we don't talk about Andromeda for various reasons, but the big three, Dragon Age, Inquisition, Dragon Age, the entire franchise, like, they have some big games under their belt. There has been some L's, some savage L's, and we all know, if you've had any experience working in the corporate world, what it's like. It's an environment of what have you done for me lately, not really a collection of your accomplishments. That's not what they look at. It's not like, okay, you have brought us these 6 amazing games across 2 different franchises, so we're gonna kind of give you leeway. It's not really like that, because it's hundreds of millions of dollars at stake. So if you have 2 L's, you start to get on, they put you on fraud watch a little bit. You have a third L after that, you launch a game that's not, taken well, like Dragon Age Veilguard. Oh my God, with all the woke controversy, quote unquote, that has been behind this game is too woke by, a certain demographic of people that can't stand to have protagonists or characters in their video games that are either gay, black, women, combination of all the aforementioned. Like, it just didn't mull over well with their target audience. So with that in mind, I could see EA kind of gearing up to, I don't know, downsize BioWare, and eventually maybe if Mass Effect doesn't turn out well, downsize it out of existence. Although I hope that's not the case, but these businesses, they have a track history of just laying off people like crazy. But let's see what they continue to say. Now, Bloomberg, citing sources and people familiar with what happened, has stated that staff are no longer simply... Oh, wait, no, I already read that. On to the next. If they want to work at BioWare again in the future, they would have to look at job openings and reapply. That is actually insane. They would have to look at job openings and reapplies if they don't already work for the same umbrella company. Wow. This was an unwelcome development for some of the employees who now find themselves on brand new teams at studios they'd never planned to join. That's fucked up. Some had come to BioWare to work on storied role-playing game franchises and found the idea of working on action or sports games less appealing. Yeah, dog, if you have the expertise to be writing a story-based game, something like Mass Effect or Dragon Age, and now they got you working on Madden or 2K or something like that, like, I'd be pissed too. Like, it's like your talents are being wasted. And initially the move was made under the assumption that it would be temporary. You know what I'm saying? They shifted. It's like they took a group of people. They're like, yo, this move is going to be temporary. You know what I'm saying? We just need you to work over here. And then once they get you situated over there, it's like, yeah, no, you're here to stay now. I know you really wanted to write fantasy stories and intriguing sci-fi fiction stories, but we're going to have you designing a football. And we're going to show you how to run some routes. Like, I'd be pissed too. I would be super pissed. And not only that, but it's a bad look from the outside. I mean, it looks like they're preparing to downsize from my perspective. Continuing on, the new Mass Effect game is currently in production, presumably for PS5 and Xbox Series X. Although it's still years off from release, there's a chance it may end up on next generation systems too. I could see that, with next generation systems rumored to be coming out 2027, 2028. Yeah. But I hope this isn't bad news for Mass Effect or for BioWare. BioWare is, I mean, Mass Effect was a huge game for me growing up. I've loved Mass Effect. It would be sad to see BioWare kind of just flash out of existence like that. But we'll keep our eye out for this one as well. We'll just pay attention to the news, and hopefully we hear some good news regarding this. Okay, and Xbox, aka the new Sega news, we got one former PlayStation executive thinks Microsoft can follow in Sega's multi-platform footsteps, even if it's harder to create the FOMO from not owning an Xbox. Tough. They're basically saying, like, hey, gear up, because the Xbox is turning into the new Sega, which is crazy. It'd probably be called Xbox Studios now, considering that you're not actually going to be owning an Xbox. Former chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios, Sean Layden, says he thinks Microsoft has the potential to pull off a similar multi-platform strategy that Sega has. It's been increasingly obvious over the past year that Microsoft has massively deprioritized the hardware side of Xbox compared to the publishing side. Games like Hi-Fi Rush, Forza Horizon 5 coming to PlayStation are big signs that Xbox will just be fully multi-platform in the future. Tough. Never thought I'd see the day where Halo would be on Xbox or PlayStation. And Xbox head Phil Spencer has said on multiple occasions that there are no red lines over any game releasing on Nintendo or PlayStation. Halo on Nintendo? That's tough. Hell, even Halo might come to the Switch too. That's what I just said. Yeah, it's funny. And in a recent interview with Kiwi Talks, former PlayStation executive Sean Layden has said he thinks Microsoft can pull off this multi-platform approach, even if it makes things on the hardware side harder. Multi-platform is a strategy, particularly in a world where the cost of development is increasing so dramatically, Layden responded when asked about Microsoft's current tactics. What does it do to their brand? It makes the conversation harder to create the fear of missing out you're trying to do that by bringing everyone to your platform by saying, if you're not here, you're missing out. But if it's available on all platforms, that's one of your marketing tactics you can't use. It's interesting. That is very, very interesting. I mean, yeah. It just means that if they take this approach, which it seems like they will, they're just gonna lose more and more influence over the market, which I think it's fair to say it was already happening, considering the fact that they've had 343 Industries working on Halo, their biggest franchise, by the way. Excuse me. Halo is literally a console seller, meaning that people would buy an Xbox just to play Halo. And ever since 343 Industries took over from Bungie, every single title they've dropped has been dog water. So imagine that, your biggest selling franchise, and you release L after L. I'm talking Halo 4, 5, Infinite. Every single one, it just wasn't appealing to anybody. So it's like, for a while now, people can tell that they've been losing their influence over the markets. It's not surprising to see them take on a multi-platform strategy. But what that'll mean is that they're just going to continue losing influence over the markets until eventually they're going to be kind of like a Sega, as unfortunately, like that's an unfortunate thing to say because I grew up with Sega and I love Sega. Sonic was the first game that I've ever played, and it was on a Sega, I forget which console, because it wasn't just the Dreamcast that Sega had. Was it Sega Drive, I think it was called, or something. But yeah, and look at Sega now. Sega had to they had to, it's like a partnership. They had to partner with a pachinko company in Japan, Sammy, and now they're known as Sega Sammy, not to survive obviously, but to bring in more money because their franchises wasn't doing it for them. I mean, like I said earlier, like the Sonic games that they've been dropping, which is their number one franchise, has been erratic. It's been like you get one good game, 4 bad games, one good game, 5 bad games. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like with a track history like that, you just continue to lose and lose and lose more influence. And honestly, Xbox has been on the same course. So I hope it doesn't turn out that way, but we'll pay attention to this one and we'll see where it goes. Let's see, in GTA 6 news, GTA 6 likely playable by now, but Rockstar's trying to find as many bugs as they can before release. GTA 6 is the most anticipated game of the decade, and there's zero news regarding it, but this X-Star Rockstar dev has some insights. Let's see what they got to say. If you aren't living under a rock, you've probably been waiting for Grand Theft Auto 6 alongside every gamer in the world. If the official timeline that was revealed in the 2023 trailer is to be believed, the game is coming out this year. But it's been a year and we haven't heard a single word. What's up with that? What's up with that, dog? I don't know. I feel like though, GTA 6 is just such a titan in the industry. I know a lot of these games that have been announced this year, but with no release date, they're most definitely waiting for GTA 6 to drop. So they could just, they could strategize around it, because you don't want to drop your game on the same month, much less, it seems like even 2 months after GTA 6 drops, because people are just going to be on that like crazy. I suspect it's going to win Game of the Year if it drops this year, just because of the hype behind it. It's insane. According to a former Rockstar Games developer, the game is likely already playable from start to finish. Former Rockstar animator Mike York says it's likely that the development team is currently focused on extensive bug testing. And despite how long we've waited, that's a huge win. I mean, yeah, for sure. If they're at this point where that's all they got to do, then yeah, the game is in a great position. GTA 6 won't be like other modern games if this is true. Mike York has worked with Rockstar Games before and was an animator for the studio's previous projects, including GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2. He recently shared his thoughts regarding GTA 6 in an interview with Kiwi Talks. The interview has been removed since due to a request from York, but his comments suggest that GTA 6 is deep in the final stages of development. Okay. State the game is probably playable now. Cool. Rockstar Games has a reputation for releasing highly polished titles, but the stakes are even higher with GTA 6. The fact that it's an open world game makes it nearly impossible for developers to find and fix every bug. The studio should still give us some news though. I mean, them being tight-lipped actually works in their favor because it just builds up more hype. You know what I'm saying? When you talk about a thing too much, the flavor starts to die. You know, it's like eating at a restaurant. It's like you got the food in front of you. You could either eat the food or you could take some small bites, talk about it, continue eating, take small bites. You're going to get full eventually. The same thing works with people's attention. You know, something as big as GTA 6, you constantly talk about it, the hype is going to die. And they're making so much money alone off of the hype. So them being tight-lipped, I don't agree. The studio should still give us some news. Nah. I'm confident that when it drops, it's going to be insane. Even though I'm probably not going to be one of those people that, you know, role play. I mean, I'm definitely not going to be one of those role players online. But there's a niche for that. And there's a lot of people that enjoy doing that. It's people that have been playing GTA 5 since it dropped. And that's crazy. Like, that's their one game. Continuing, while there's no confirmation of his words, the idea of Rockstar taking its time to get everything right is exactly what we need to hear. This is especially true considering the state of modern AAA game releases. We've seen games in recent years requiring months of patches to become stable. Cyberpunk 2077 and Starfield are the best examples of games that honestly just launched in an embarrassing state. Doom vs. Kang for sure. I'm just seeing that. The industry needs to stop this trend. We are tired of developers releasing unfinished games on launch day because all it's done is make us hesitate to buy titles at launch. We can put most, if not all, the blame for the industry's reliance on post-launch patches. Yeah, I'm sick and tired of this shit, man. I'm sick and tired of you dropping $70 for a video game and it being unfinished. Like we spoke about this earlier. These companies come out there like, oh, we're gonna release a patch, a day one patch. You know what I'm saying? We want your money, and then when you open the game, it's probably not gonna work the way that it's intended, but we're gonna patch it day one. Like, it's ridiculous, bro. It should come packaged and finished for $70. Bro, it was hard to justify buying new games at 60 and now they're 70 and they're thinking about making them 100, especially GTA 6. Dog, like, this game needs to be finished. In the past, games had to be complete, and functional upon release, as there were no online updates to fix issues. Today, studios often use us, the customers who paid for the game, as beta testers. Facts. Studios are rolling out unfinished games with the promise of future fixes, and we're basically just spending an upwards of $70 on doing. Yep, literally what I just said. If GTA 6 just avoids even this aspect of game launches, then it's already a win in our books. Now we're just stuck with having to reconsider pre-ordering or buying games at launch altogether. First of all, as a gamer, you shouldn't be pre-ordering jack shit. If you're pre-ordering video games, you're part of the problem. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm gonna make that statement here and now. Bro, these companies are relying on you to pre-order an unfinished video game. I mean, okay, let me not say it like that, because I understand that there are people that are enthusiastic about certain titles and confident that it's going to be decent enough, or probably don't even care if it's unfinished. I can't get mad at that because that's trending too. Once pre-orders become available for that joint, I'm pre-ordering. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, I'm guilty as charged. But I'm talking about games that have been untested, games that are unlikely to release in the state that it's supposed to release in. You're pre-ordering these games. Like, I know people who are serial pre-orders. They find out new games coming out, pre-order. Another game's coming out, pre-order. Like, you're not being smart with your wallet, and that's your number one weapon against the industry. You know, if you don't buy something or you don't play something, they're gonna know, and it's gonna hit their pockets hard, especially when a company puts 500, 600, 700 million dollars into a video game. They need to know that it's disappointing if it is, but they can't tell if it's disappointing if people are pre-ordering their games. You know what I'm saying? You paid the $70 up front before you even have the game, and then you get it and it's unfinished. Who are you going to complain to? Like, you don't have anybody to complain to. You spent your money. You've been spent your money. So yeah, even if it's their favorite characters, favorite franchise or developers, players are choosing to wait for sales, patches, and content updates so that they get better version. Okay, so this is good. It's good that on a scale, most people are waiting to do those things. Yeah. All right. Well, interesting news. Yeah. Can't wait to see when they're going to drop that release date. These graphics are insane. It almost looks like real life. I know we say that every year, but GTA 6 is looking crazy. In PS6 news, let's see. Sean Layden predicts PS6 won't be a completely discless console. The former chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios has cast doubt on the PS6 being a completely digital console, believing it will be hard for the format holder to wave goodbye to physical media for its next system. Of course it is. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, making the PS6 discless would be a complete disadvantage to the companies. I mean, up front, it looks like an advantage because now they don't have to pay for the creation and import of CDs, the creation and import of box art and all those other things. But you lose a large portion of your audience that under no circumstances will never play a online video game. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people out there that are collectors. A lot of people just prefer playing disc versions of video games. So this is a done deal. Chatting with Kiwi Talks, Sean Layden responded to comments from host Reese Riley that Sony could probably get away with launching the PS6 as a discless console, but the former Sony executive wasn't entirely convinced. Well, actually, he says, I don't think Sony can get away with it now. I think Xbox has had more success in pursuing that strategy, but Xbox is really most successful in their business in a clutch of countries: US, Canada, UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. Sony, which is the number one platform in probably 170 countries around the world, has an obligation and responsibility to say that if we go discless, how much of my market is not able to make that jump? A huge portion. Can users in rural Italy get a decent connection to enjoy games? No. You know, that's a huge part of the problem. Layden then pointed to the fact that PlayStation is so popular on military bases where you can't get internet connection, as well as for athletes who like to take their consoles with them to hotels while waiting for their next game. This is a lot to consider. Sony's market is globally so huge that I think it'll be hard for them to go discless even for the next generation. Yeah. Sony hasn't yet announced the PS6 yet, after all. The PS5 hasn't been out on the market for 5 years at the time of this writing, but there's been plenty of chatter about the new console. Recently, it was reported that the next generation machine is likely to use AMD's 3D stack chips, with the console apparently, that sounds fire, with the console apparently well into production with the chip maker at this point. Sony is also reportedly placing high importance on backwards compatibility for its next home console. In terms of cost, analysts have already predicted that the PS6 will retail for at least $600 when it arrives. I expected this, which is probably around 2027, 28. Yeah. And complete with that backwards compatibility to get rid of the entirety of the PS4 gaming base. And it's funny, I can see the PS4 players getting a PS5 when the PS6 comes out. Like, there's a certain group of people that are just, they got the money too, but they don't. They're not gonna buy no PS6. But I could definitely see this being a full feature console and not discless. But just a rumor and just an idea. And for our last article, EA reveals first look at next Battlefield and how to play it early. This upcoming sequel, yo, these ads are bananas, dog. This upcoming sequel will include a campaign, and it looks a lot like Battlefield 3. EA has pulled back the curtain on its next mainline entry in its long-running Battlefield franchise, explaining a new development plan involving 4 different studios, as well as a new way for players to hop in early to provide feedback on what the teams are making. On February 3rd, EA published a new video on a website detailing the future of its FPS War Sim series. Let's take a look at this video right here. See what they got.
Defending that last point in breakthrough.
You and your squad going together, trying to accomplish something.
Helicopter crashes into the building next to you, and all of a sudden the roof drops on your head.
The vehicle play is the destruction. You've got tanks, you've got jets.
You get a bit sweaty in your palms.
That's full, all-out military experience.
Is this 2042?
Unlike any other game I've played.
This franchise comes with a long history, spanning over 20 years now. But the question is, how do we continue to build on that and push Battlefield to the next level?
I've been playing Battlefield since long before I joined the team. When 1942 first came out, the amount of fun that we all sat down and had with it is just, still like a fond memory. So in joining the Battlefield team, it was about the opportunity to give that team that space to do something just more amazing even than they've done in the past.
We set out with this ambitious idea of creating this new Battlefield universe. And to make that vision a reality, we had to think big.
Each of our 4 studios comes with its own culture and expertise into what we call Battlefield Studios.
One team that spans across the globe and combines 20 years of franchise experience with emerging talent.
DICE has such a rich history with Battlefield. We've been working on it for years and years. But we also want to do something bigger and better than we've ever done before. And you can't do that with one studio.
DICE is responsible for the multiplayer part of the game, which incorporates things like destruction systems, class play, squad play, vehicles, gadgets, all of those kind of underlying systems that drive the experience.
So here at Motive, we're working on multiplayer maps, and we're also working on single-player mission contents.
We're driving a cinematic experience to the level that's never been done on Battlefield before.
Ripple Effects has a long history of working on the Battlefield franchise.
Yeah.
We're working on an experience that is really going to open Battlefield up to a whole group of new players, but really still exciting that core audience that has made this franchise so successful.
Criterion have been supporting Battlefield for a decade now, and now we're going to bring that to the table as a fully fledged kind of partner in the Battlefield studios.
Mainly, we've been focused on the single-player experience. So the campaign is back for Battlefield.
We have never before had this many teams and talents dedicated to the development of Battlefield. And we have a plan to create a new, exciting future for the franchise, alongside our players.
This game has so much potential. So I think it's about giving the team this time to really hone their craft.
We have to prototype, play test, get feedback,
and then repeat that loop
over and over and over again. We have to find gameplay that really resonates with the players and then build on that.
So does this mean the community is going to be making the game while they're developing it? Like beta testing it? Or not even beta, like alpha testing it? And alpha, I don't know.
Battlefield Labs is our new development initiative where players will get to test specific focus areas in the game.
We've done similar things in the past, but this is a whole nother level. We're doing it before we launch the game, and we're doing it with so much more content.
It's an exciting way for us to interact with our audience before things go live and make sure that what we have is really fun and polished.
And we have to test everything, combat to destruction to maps and modes.
We're going to test all the new features that we're putting out, and we're going to test hardware like weapons, vehicles, and gadgets.
We can try different things, but also validate what players are expecting from Battlefield.
That feedback is crucial in helping us know what to prioritize, what needs improvement, and what feels like a true Battlefield experience.
We're pre-alpha, so now is the time to test all the experiences our teams have been building for our upcoming launch and beyond. Join our Discord where you can learn more about our new closed testing environment. We call it Battlefield Labs. Let's build Battlefield together.
Okay. Graphics looking insane. The destruction is crazy. Interesting. It kind of looks like 2042 to me. I'm not particularly crazy over the Battlefield franchise, though. If they drop something crazy, you know, I will be on it. But we'll see. We'll see. The next game in the franchise is being developed by 4 development teams who are part of a new group known as Battlefield Studios. As stated on a webpage announcing the group, which involves Battlefield creators DICE, alongside Criterion, Ripple Effect, and Motive, these studios are working together to bring a bold and faithful new vision to for the series to life. Early gameplay of this next Battlefield game seems to indicate that, as previously confirmed by EA, it will return the franchise to modern-day combat, as seen in fan-favorite titles Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. The studios involved also explained that this new game will feature the familiar classes and vehicles used in destructible maps, all hallmarks of the series, and this next Battlefield game, which remains unnamed and doesn't have a release date, will include a single-player campaign too. Okay, this is the gameplay footage we just saw. Yeah, so it's a lot of destruction for sure. You just make sure music is playing. There we go. The other big news announced today is Battlefield Labs. This program, which players can sign up for now, will let select users join in on early pre-alpha gameplay tests. While this might sound similar to a typical beta test, something EA has done before, the studios involved in this beta game indicated that Battlefield Labs is different. Players are going to be given more content than before at an earlier state in development than usual. It will help provide feedback on what's working and what's not working. It sounds like they need help on development. Not gonna lie, like, not to sound spiteful, but it sounds like they need a lot of help. Battlefield Labs, space for play and exploration. Our community is at the heart of Battlefield. Their feedback is crucial in helping us know what to prioritize, what to improve, and what feels like an authentic Battlefield experience. It will be interesting to see how Battlefield Labs impacts the development of the game, and also how much of the content from the tests leak online for everyone to see. EA is certainly investing a lot of money and resources into getting Battlefield back on track after 2042 and Battlefield 5? I think so. Weren't huge hits in the community. The return to modern day combat and classic class-based multiplayer sounds promising, and the idea of bringing in player feedback early could help steer the teams in the right direction. For now, we have to wait and see how it all shakes out. EA has not revealed a release window or official name for the next game. Battlefield Labs frequently asked questions indicates the next game will only be available on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. I was never really huge into the Battlefield franchise. I was really hyped to play 2042 though, but the state that it launched in really turned me off. So I'm hoping that this next Battlefield won't go anything like that. Though I know that they turned the ship around, and it's a lot nicer. I used to play Battlefield in stealth mode. Yeah, I need to get on Battlefield. when this drops, for sure. Okay. Yeah, so we'll be looking out for that. We'll see what it's looking like in the stages of development, and hopefully they keep improving. You know, shouts out to Battlefield.